$41,286. That's the number sitting in your savings account app right now, the one you check every Sunday night at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee that's already gone cold. You do the math in your head, 0.6% interest, 3.4% inflation, and you feel the gap without being able to name it yet. The app shows you earned $247 this year. It doesn't show you that inflation quietly took $1,403 out the back door. You are sitting in exactly the trap that swallows the responsible. Before I go on, if you've got money parked in a savings account you're actually proud of, subscribe and drop your current interest rate in the comments right now. You close the app. You open your bank's website instead, because you want a second number to confirm the first one, the way people check a wound twice hoping it looks different the second time. It doesn't. Your rate is 0.6%. The national average checking account pays even less, 0.07%, according to the numbers you half remember from a headline you scrolled past in March. You've done everything right. You've avoided debt. You've built an emergency fund. You've been disciplined for 6 years, and the number on the screen is quietly, mathematically punishing you for it. You are optimizing for safety when you should be optimizing for velocity. That's the sentence that should sit uncomfortably in your chest, because safety and velocity are not the same instinct, and most people spend their 20s and 30s confusing one for the other. Safety protects what you have today. Velocity determines what you'll have in 15 years. A dollar sitting still isn't neutral, it's losing, every single day, at a rate most people never bother to calculate, because the loss doesn't show up as a red number, it shows up as nothing. And nothing is the most dangerous number there is. In March of 2016, a woman named Carla Odom was living in a 2-bedroom rental in Greenville, South Carolina, working as a dental hygienist, making $52,400 a year. She had $19,800 in a savings account, earning 0.4%, and she'd had it there for 4 years, untouched, growing at a pace that embarrassed her when she actually sat down and calculated it. She wasn't reckless. She wasn't a risk-taker by nature. She was, by her own description, a woman who kept receipts in a shoebox and paid her credit card in full every month. What changed wasn't her personality. What changed was one conversation with a co-worker's husband, an appraiser, who told her that a run-down 3-bedroom on Anderson Street had just sold for $94,000 and would rent for $1,150 a month. Carla put $18,900 down on that house, a 20% down payment on a $94,500 purchase price, financed at 4.1% over 30 years. Her monthly payment, taxes and insurance included, came to $612. She remembers the phone call with the loan officer more clearly than her own wedding, the specific silence after she said yes, the pen that skipped once on the third signature line, the way her hand actually shook signing a number that large for the first time. By 2019, 3 years later, at age 31, that house had appreciated to $121,000 and was cash flowing $340 a month after every expense. Her $18,900 had already returned more than her entire savings account had earned in a decade. The first rule: money that sits still depreciates, but money attached to an asset with rent and appreciation compounds in 2 directions at once. She didn't stop there, because stopping is what the account balance had trained her to do, and she was done being trained by it. In 2019, she refinanced the Anderson Street house, pulling out $31,000 in equity at a rate of 3.9% and used it as the down payment on a duplex 2 streets over, purchased for $148,000. The physical detail she remembers is smaller this time, not a signature, but a number on a screen during the cash-out refinance closing. Watching $31,000 land in an account that 4 years earlier had never held more than $20,000 total. By 2021, at 33, she owned 2 properties worth a combined $289,000, with $97,000 in equity, and $690 a month in net cash flow. The second rule: Equity isn't wealth until you move it, and the people who stay wealthy are the ones who make their money work twice. The duplex taught her something the single-family house hadn't, that scale changes the math in her favor, not against her. In 2021, she partnered with 2 other investors from a local meetup, pooling $67,000 in combined capital to buy an 8-unit apartment building in a neighboring town for $612,000, financed through a commercial portfolio loan at 5.2%. This decision took 11 weeks of due diligence, 3 inspections, and one moment she describes bluntly standing in the parking lot of the property at 7 a.m. with the seller's agent, watching a tenant's rent check bounce and realizing that was information the spreadsheet hadn't shown her. By 2023, at 35, her share of that 8-unit building alone was worth $94,000 in equity, on top of the $340,000 in combined equity across her first 2 properties. The third rule: partnership isn't a compromise on ownership, it's a multiplier on scale you couldn't reach alone. By this point, Carla wasn't checking a savings account balance anymore. She was checking rent rolls, occupancy rates, cap rates, numbers that used to sound like a foreign language and now sounded like her own name. In 2023, she was approached by a syndicator out of Charlotte running a 140-unit apartment acquisition. Raising capital from limited partners at a $50,000 minimum buy-in for an 8% preferred return, plus equity upside. She wrote the check $50,000, her largest single financial decision to date, and remembers the specific unease of wiring that amount to an entity she'd only met over 4 Zoom calls, watching the confirmation number appear on her banking app, and feeling, for the first time, genuinely out of her depth. 18 months later, the property refinanced at a higher valuation, and her $50,000 position was marked at $71,400 in equity, with quarterly distributions of $1,020. The fourth rule: the biggest leaps forward come right after the moment it stops feeling comfortable. At 37, in 2025, Carla did something that would have been unrecognizable to the woman checking a 0.4% savings account. 9 years earlier, she started raising her own capital. She formed a small fund with a $2 million target, structured with herself as general partner, targeting value-add multifamily properties in the Southeast, and brought in 14 limited partners at an average investment of $61,000 each. The physical detail this time wasn't a signature or a wire confirmation, it was a legal document, 41 pages of a private placement memorandum, that she read line by line at her kitchen table at 11 p.m., the same table she used to sit at doing savings account math 9 years earlier. Within 8 months, the fund had acquired 2 properties totaling 96 units for a combined $8.4 million. And Carla's general partner promote her cut of the upside above the preferred return was already projected at $184,000 over the hold period. The fifth rule: the amount of capital you can access always grows faster than the amount you personally saved to start. Somewhere around this point, the ceiling shifted again, because that's what happens once you're operating at a scale where other people's money starts moving alongside your own. In 2025, at a regional real estate conference in Nashville, Carla sat 2 tables away from a woman running a $340 million multifamily fund, listening to her discuss a single acquisition, a 412-unit property, with the same casual tone Carla once used to describe a $94,000 house on Anderson Street. It wasn't envy that Carla felt watching her. It was recognition, the specific, quiet recognition of someone noticing the exact same math, running at a different denominator. The 6th rule: every level you reach reveals a level operating at a multiple you haven't touched yet. And that's not discouraging. That's the map. By 2026, at 38, Carla's combined position across the duplex, the 8-unit, the syndication stake, and her own fund's general partner interest was valued at just under $1.1 million in net equity. Her original $18,900 down payment on a $94,500 house in Greenville had, across 10 years and 5 compounding decisions, become the seed of a portfolio worth more than 50 times that initial number. None of it happened because she found one lucky deal. It happened because every single decision followed the same rule the last one did: move the money, don't let it sit, let scale compound scale. The seventh rule: the gap between saving and building isn't intelligence or luck, it's simply whether the money is allowed to stay still. That's the part almost nobody says out loud. Because it isn't dramatic, and it isn't a headline. The difference between the version of you checking a savings app at a kitchen table and the version of you managing a portfolio isn't a personality transplant. It's roughly 5 to 7 decisions made in sequence, each one slightly larger and slightly less comfortable than the last. Most people make 0 of them. They make the first calculation the uncomfortable one. The $41,286 sitting there losing $1,403 a year without ever showing a red number, and then they close the app and open something else? Because the discomfort passes faster than the decision would take. Right now, somewhere in a city you've never been to, someone is sitting at a kitchen table with a laptop open to their banking app. They are not famous. They are not featured anywhere. They have $41,286 in a savings account earning 0.6%. And they just did the same math you did at the start of this video and felt the same gap without a name for it yet. They are one conversation, one appraiser's phone number, one uncomfortable signature away from a different decade than the one they're currently heading toward. They just haven't made the call yet. $41,286. Sitting still. Losing, quietly, every single day, it stays that way.